So I made it to the next day. My eye was completely gone yesterday. It was just, I honestly don't know what it is. It's definitely not pollen. It seems to only react in polluted places, and there's been a lot of cars going up and down. There's been a lot of silage being spread, etc. And usually I take reishi for this, and reishi has made a great difference in suppressing these reactions that I get to the polluted air around us. Now, what I've actually tried doing is making this Ganoderma tea, because Ganoderma apollinatum is related to reishi, and I've made it about 3 times stronger this time, so I'll see if that helps. But the reishi that I was taking was much more condensed, but it was double extracted, so that's in water and in alcohol, and it was much more condensed. So I've been considering that they're essentially the same family of mushroom, and I was talking with Monica Wild, who is leading the study, and we agreed that if I really need it to kind of get through the summer, then it's okay if I take reishi, but without the capsules, because it shouldn't affect my gut microbiome drastically, because it should be similar to having this mushroom tea. So I might try and find a place just as a backup. I'm going to try making this stronger first and see if this will help, and drink maybe 2 lots of it a day. Just drinking a lot more of it, see if this can kind of alleviate these symptoms. I don't react to pollen at the height of pollen during the day. What I react to is, especially in the evening, if the wind's been blowing over land and carrying all the ozone from the sun reacting with the chemicals from the exhaust fumes and reacting with the agricultural pollution. That is what I feel is affecting me, and whilst I'm particularly sensitive to all of this, it just highlights how polluted our world is, even in the middle of what seems to be the countryside. I live in the middle of nowhere at home, and the pollution blows over because it's all agricultural. There's a motorway a few miles away. It all adds up, and inland it stagnates. So yeah, I think something really needs to be done about it, because during lockdown I barely suffered at all during lockdown. That was one of the best summers that I had, and I didn't leave the property because you couldn't travel, you couldn't go places, and I actually suffered hardly at all during that time. So there was no planes in the air. There was no everyone wasn't driving that much. So a bunch of the factors that I believe are affecting me were taken out of the equation. So over the years, I've just been kind of taking out different things from the equation to try and narrow it down, and I'm pretty sure by now that it is the air pollution that's triggering whatever is causing my allergic reactions. But what I've had to do, I've had to go back to this. I always carry this in the summer. This is it's just a gas mask that I bought from B&Q, and what it does, it prevents any particulate and vapour from getting through. So I've been wearing that when I've been driving, just to stop anything from getting into my lungs and through my nose, and that does help. That stops whatever is causing my reactions. So I've gone back to wearing this just to prevent a build-up. So it's just a shame, really, how polluted our world is. I'm going to try and find a place on a Sunday, which is going to be difficult, that stocks some reishi, just so I've got it as a backup if I really, really, really struggle. And then we're going to head back to the coast. I'm thinking of trying to go towards the east coast this evening, well, the east side of the peninsula on the Lizard, to see if I can negate that issue, because down there the wind's blowing over the sea. So we'll see if that helps at all. But also that new rod, I lost the lure from it. I've never used braided line before, so I must have tied it wrong, and I didn't have a signal to search the knot that I needed to use. So I finally found that, and I've hopefully tied the right knot on the lure this time, and downloaded a picture of it on the phone just so that I don't forget exactly how to do it. It's really simple, actually, really simple, but I'm surprised how tough and strong it is. So yeah, we're gonna just finish charging up at Tesco. I'm just charging up here, and then while I'm charging up, I'm going to have a look and see if I can find some health food shops that are open without driving all the way back to Devon, because that's the only one that I know that stocks it. I'm sure another one around here stocks it, so I'm going to ring around and see if I can find somewhere nearby so that I don't have to travel far to get my stocks of reishi. A big part of why I went electric is partly because of all this pollution. Whilst electric cars are not entirely perfect either, they do produce their own amount of pollution. The difference is that it's not immediately at the exhaust, and that where the diesel fumes everywhere, the particulates, like I'm just looking ahead of me and there's car after car after car coming out of the petrol station, and that is a lot of pollution. It's invisible to the eye, and therefore we don't really think about it. But if you imagine how many cars are on the road and how many cars are driving, it's just a crazy amount of exhaust fumes. Sure, we're probably going to always be having an impact. Anything we do in this world is going to have an impact. But with electric, for example, I've got some solar power at home, and if I went off grid with that, I could be charging only on renewable energy, and there is that potential. Now, aside from electric, there is also like your hydrogen. Hydrogen should be a good thing as long as it comes out of renewable technology. Same with electric charging. The more renewable technology that we have in terms of wind power or wave power or solar power, which is slowly increasing, that means that the electric is coming from there instead of from oil powered stations and or fossil fuel stations. So it's kind of like just laying the groundwork for the future, and I just feel like I mean it just can't come sooner. I really feel the extent of the state of the air, and I'm just so sensitive to that. I just cannot stand behind a car when the exhaust fumes are just pumping out. And yeah, I really hope that there is a change soon where we do fix all of this. Now, with hydrogen, you could do something like LPG conversions, and you could literally retrofit that to every existing combustion engine that is out there. I do not know why we have not done that already, because that is one really simple solution that could rectify this whole exhaust point pollution issue. And all you'd get out the exhaust then is water. So I mean, there is that possibility. I just really don't know why we haven't done it already. It's perfectly possible. I've just got back into the car after having a little wander down to get the reishi. This is a really good Mushrooms for Life organic reishi, and it's a double extract, and it's really much more condensed than what I could produce with my Ganoderma tea. But on the east side, I seem not to be suffering as much. I think it's because the wind's coming in from this direction, blowing in from the ocean instead of blowing over land. So I've been suffering less here, but there is still car fumes, as you can see, and that has set me off a little bit. So I also have to try and stop going to charity shops, because I've been in need of some new coats, and I went in one and I bought yet again another coat. I don't mind, it's just that I'm running out of space to store everything, but it's a really nice coat, and I'd rather buy from charity shops than buy brand new, because you're reusing something, you're upcycling something, you're kind of, instead of something that would have gone to waste. And there's some really nice stuff in there at a very good price, so I couldn't help but snap that up. I ended up finding this really nice caravan park on the Lizard, and they let me come and use the shower for a £5, which was amazing, and it was actually one of the best showers I have had since I've been out on this journey. The leisure showers just weren't very good at all. This one was just perfect. But I've also had a double dose of the reishi, and I already feel a lot better, so must be something in that that's helping. I feel a lot clearer. I feel like nothing's reacting in my senses as much, and wow. But they said there's some woods somewhere back here, and I told them about the wild food diet, and they said I'm more than happy to go and have a little forage, so that's what I am going to do. Wow, look, there is swine cress, I believe that one is, and it's growing right next to the normal bitter cress that we're all familiar with. I think that one's hairy bitter cress. I'm not sure, I think I can see hairs on it, but it's one of the bitter cresses, and we've got our swine cress here. Now, swine cress is largely underrated, but I find that it has an amazing punchy flavour, and it's one of these that will go really well with something dessert. I used to put it with strawberries and cream, and it was absolutely delicious. Now, normally you can't really harvest this because it often grows in the worst conditions. Maybe that's why it's called swine cress, I don't know, because it's probably always growing in the churned mud where pigs have been. But it's often, the goats actually brought it to the field, and when I had goats, it wasn't growing there before, and now it's spread. But normally it grows in all the muck, in all the dugout ground of agriculture, so it's not really in desirable places to harvest in the first place. But here it's just in a garden bed, so I would quite happily nibble on that. We also have a load of hogweed hiding in here, and we also have some nettles nearby too. But wow, I might harvest some of that actually, and that will add to my next wild green stir fry. Oh wow, look at this. They're not ripe, but in this gully here there is loads and loads of wild strawberries. That's a really nice find. If I was here later in the year, those would be ripe for the picking. It's a really lovely little campsite, and it's not that expensive. They only charge £13 a night. So if you're ever up on the Lizard, it's just down the road from Ruin Major, so you can't miss it if you look out for that town, that village. But wow, what a beautiful location. Now if they do the laundry here and I'm still here when I need to do my laundry, then maybe I'll come back and spend the night and relax here. Again, a little bit too early for this, but look, we have some kind of currant bush coming up here, probably red currant. Ah, hello. Look, there's a little one just in there, but it's not quite ripe yet. It's almost there, almost ripe. So there'll be some amazing berries on there to eat in maybe a week or two. Whilst I have decided to have a little bit of reishi, it's not really going to impact the wild biome project, because reishi does grow wild anyway. This is organic, it's grown in the best way possible, but also it's Ganoderma lucidum, I think, but it's basically very closely related to artist conch, and so my gut microbiome shouldn't reflect any different really from what I've already been consuming. And it does, you can find reishi in the UK, so it's not like I'm eating something completely off the charts. But it's important that I'm able to actually be outside, able to drive and do things, because if my eyes were completely shot with the allergies to this, whatever's in the air, then I wouldn't be able to do anything at all. So you've got your vetch down here, really nice plant. In the pea family, one of the only members of the wild pea family that you can eat. Though I think there is caution on the seed pods. I forget, I haven't read up on it for a while. But you can see the pea-like flowers right there. And so that's, again, if you get familiar with your plant families and you look out for these features. And also the leaves are very, very pea-like too. So yeah, if you become familiar with different plant family features, it suddenly becomes easier to identify certain things. Ooh, hello. This is one of my favourite wild plants. I love it whenever I see it, and I've talked about it a lot. It's our amazing pendulous sedge, and you can see the seeds are already starting to form, so in August these should be starting to brown and be ready to just drop off in your hand. And I'm going to try and get on it again this year. I need to collect, see how much I've used over the Wild Biome project. I really want to increase my stores again, and so I'm going to be on that later in the year, get some more pendulous sedge stored up, and keep using it even after the Wild Biome project has ended. Behind me, just here, we have our foxgloves. They're one member of the wild plant family that you want to avoid. They're beautiful flowers, really nice, but the plant itself, there's something that you could potentially confuse with comfrey. But I don't really use comfrey anyway, because there were certain warnings about it as well. So it's not really a plant family that I use that often, but there it is. You've got some beautiful flowers. Great for the bees though. There's also a load of gorse in the hedgerow. It's gone past the stage that we harvest, the beautiful yellow flowers that are almost coconutty in flavour. So it's past that point, and I probably wouldn't harvest anything from that now. Ooh, and then we do have a little bit of sow thistles just here, some yummy sow thistles. Now they've gone to flower, I might not be able to get anything off of it, but what I usually like to do is to pull off the end and give it. I really love the bitter flavour that comes off of sow thistle. It's wow. It's more potent than dandelion, but it has a certain sweetness to it too, and it almost makes me sneeze when I first bite into it. I don't know what that is. It does it with dandelion and wild lettuce as well. Once I bite into that bitterness, that milky sap, it makes me sneeze, and then I'm fine after that. I just love that flavour. It's so sweet, just a bit fibrous now. That is absolutely delicious, but unfortunately it's past the stage of being able to eat without effort. It's got too much, it's too fibrous. But that is absolutely delicious. So that's amazing. This campsite is rich with wild things, and I'm going to go now and pick some nettles and common hogweed to take away with me, and yeah, I'm going to head to the coast and do a spot of fishing. I think that'll be the end of this video for now. I've shown you enough clips of fishing, and I'm sure you're bored of that already, all the fishing clips of casting the rod and not catching anything. But I'm going to have to learn a little bit more on how to spin and how to use lures. But I think once I do, and once I learn how to read the water, fishing will suddenly become so much more efficient and effective. Oh, there is a cute little thing there, look. It's a little fairy door. Look at it, just up there on this tree.